And the second time I escaped was much later, because they were trying to prosecute me for stalking my predator. And so I was like, it was dragging on, and I was paying these lawyers who, at this point, I'm fairly sure were actually working for the enemy, not me. But, they were doing everything they could to drain my finances, right, to impoverish me so that I would end up where I'm here if I happen to live. Who knows? But that's just a key part of how they control women, is they impoverish us. So the second time I escaped was after they found me guilty. I had tried to go to the press, by the way. I was brave enough to try to go to the press with at least some of the crazy shit that this corrupt DA was doing, Christopher Neld, and what was happening to me. And they put me in jail for 2 days for trying to go to the press. It's online, an article about this, right? It was like living in Russia. I think we're all living in Russia these days, right? This is not America anymore, especially if you're a woman. So they put me in jail for 2 days for trying to go to the press. And then, and basically, like, I was going in to pick the jury for the trial. And, one of my lawyers, who is I think he was disbarred for beating up his wife. Why did I hire a lawyer? It's just, my lawyer, this other woman lawyer, had recommended him, and I think she was being paid, threatened, who knows what. But he was just disgusting. I mean, I paid him money, he did nothing for me. So we're going to pick the jury, and we're discussing, and he said, "Oh, hey, Ethan Shaw wants to come and talk to you and see if he can come up with a settlement." And I was like, okay, shit, let's do that. And I forget what the conversation was, but I said at one point to him, because he was such a despicable sack of shit, Steve Cohen was his name. I said to him, I really feel like you don't respect me here. And he's like, I don't respect you. I know better. Or some crazy shit. He was just a misogynist sack of shit. I think he may have blown his brains out. I can't tell online. I hope he did. I hope he blew his brains out. Anyway, so all this time, Ethan had refused to come and have any kind of discussion with me in front of the lawyers. So now, all of a sudden, when we're picking the jury, he said he'll come and talk, and I'm like, okay, let's do it. And then he comes, and then I'm told by my lawyers, I cannot talk. I'm not allowed to talk in this discussion with Ethan. He talks, and I listen. And that's the end of it. That's not what I agreed to. But here he was. So we get into this discussion where I'm only allowed to listen, and he talks. And it's just all crazy. I mean, here's my predator who's torturing me, just saying crazy, crazy bullshit stuff. And I'm not allowed to answer. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? And then he leaves. And then this nasty little fox, Steve Cohen, who I think blew his brains out, I hope he did, tells me, oh, he's so credible. He's going to win no matter what. We have to just settle. And mind you, also, this nasty little fuck, Steve Cohen, and my other lawyers, Laura Shaw, had a meeting with me where they said, no matter what, you're guilty of this stalking too, because you sent him so many emails, so that you're going to be found guilty of it. Now, much later, I realized, I looked up the law, of course. You can't be found guilty of stalking 2 until you've been found guilty of stalking 1. And I kept saying, isn't there some criteria? Because there's no criteria in this, in stalking 2 for stalking. For stalking, because I'm not stalking this guy. That's just not happening. And they said, no, it's just a matter of, they lied in the meeting to me. These, supposedly my lawyers that I was paying. And so, the crime they were finding me guilty of was stalking 2, something you can't be found guilty of unless you've been found guilty of stalking 1, which has a list of criteria for stalking, none of which I was actually doing. So I guess that's why they picked stalking too. So, and my lawyer, after this crazy meeting where I was just forced to be silent and my predator was talking, he said, "You don't have a chance in hell. He's so credible. He's a lawyer. You're gonna go to jail for a long time. We have to like just settle this." And I tried to go to the press, and I was in jail for 2 days, and nothing right was happening here. I was in so much danger with no help. It was like being in Russia, or what I imagine, being in Russia is. No rights were protected here. None of my rights as an American citizen were protected here. So I was like, okay, let's just do it. So they found me guilty of stalking too. And what that meant was I had to move out of my house because it was like too close to the house that I never wanted. That I was forced to buy by my predator, who he was forcing me now to move out of the house that was 2 houses down from his. And so I went to I bought an RV and went and lived in an RV for a little while. I mean, it was so horrific and insane. And while I was in this RV, one of my predators came. I can't remember what he was called. And he handed me my passport back, and he just said, "Run." So with very little money, I fled. I just got on the next plane. This time, I went to Europe. This time, I was like, I just need to get out of the country. Obviously, like, being in America is not safe. So I fled, and I landed in Spain. Almost nothing. That time I did manage to escape, but it was... And the guy, when he came to give me my passport, he raped me, They always were raping me. I've been assaulted so many times. I'll never have sex with a man again. The thought just makes me want to puke. Absolutely puke. I mean, worse than puke. Die. It makes me want to die. So...